is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ty behind the camera, and sitting in front of us is the 2023 Volvo XC40 Recharge in the top tier ultimate trim level. This is a really neat all-electric version of the Volvo XC40, finished in a beautiful metallic white paint color. Look at that sparkle. Now, a little bit of an overview of this video. We're going to take a walk around of the exterior first, kind of detail everything going on there. We'll then pop the hood and we'll see how much storage we have up there, since we do have a little bit. And we'll also talk about the powertrain up there too. We'll pop the trunk next and check out how much room we have back there to put all your goods. Then we'll hop into the interior, starting with the rear seats and making our way up front to the front seats. You're going to want to make sure to stay tuned to the end of the video though, because I'm going to strap this GoPro to my head and we're going to take this thing out for a test drive. Now, first things first, let's get straight into it up front with the headlamps. Full LED units for the XC40 Recharge. We have the LED daytime running lights, turn signals, as well as the high and low beams. We also have the headlamp washers. Down below, we have some parking sensors that span throughout the front bumper. And we also have a combination of high gloss trim surrounding the fog lamp and kind of the flat black trim that goes all the way around the wheel arches and down the side. That'll protect your white paint from rock chips. But take a look at those fog lamps. So full LED fog lamps, again, looks very nice, all illuminated, just like the headlamps. Up front, we have a pretty much blocked off grille with the Volvo emblem and the front vision camera up front too. Pretty cool creases on the hood. You can see it starts up towards the firewall and kind of ends up going into the front bumper. That's pretty neat. Again, we have that black cladding to prevent all the stone chipping, and some pretty darn neat looking wheels on this vehicle, specific to the ultimate trim. Huge bits of the machine finish, and then kind of black pockets, really neatly styled wheels. 235, 45 size tires and 20-inch wheels. Lots and lots of gloss black on the upper half of this vehicle. So we have gloss black mirror covers as well as window surrounds, and kind of from the A-pillar all the way back to the rearmost pillar, or sort of quarter panel I guess you could say, is all blacked out. Pretty neat. If you take a look over here, we have the blind spot warning on the mirror, as well as some cameras at the base of the mirror too for the 360 view, and those mirrors are also power folding. We do have smart key entry on all 4 of the door handles, so we have a little pad right there where we could press to lock, and just put your hand behind the handle to unlock. We have the charging door right over here. Pretty neat. And you kind of just press this button here to start charging. We do have partial LED rear tail lamps back here, so the turn signals are the only real thing, as well as the brake lights that aren't LED. Other than that, all the running lights and everything are LED powered. Very nice sort of vertical design, like in traditional Volvo fashion. Back here, pretty clean look. We have some gloss black accents down below and rear fog lights. Rear parking sensors, as well as the reversing camera and the trunk release right up there above the license plate frame. As far as badging, we have the XC40 on the left, and making our way towards the right, we have the Volvo script spelled out, and our powertrain, the Recharge twin motor powertrain. So I've always thought the XC40 is a really good looking car, a little bit quirky, but that doesn't mean that it's not good looking. I actually really like the kind of, funky personality that this car gives off. Kind of funky but professional. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, now that we have the hood open, I think this will be an appropriate time to talk about the power figures and kind of detail what actually runs this vehicle, since it is fully electric. So we do have a 78 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack that is hooked up to 2 individual drive motors, so one on the front axle, one on the rear axle, thus making it all-wheel drive. and the power figures for those motors is 402 horsepower and 486 pound-feet of torque. So this little SUV gets up and goes. This is a pretty quick little electric SUV here. And of course, as I said earlier, it is all-wheel drive, thus adding to the excitement. So we do have a little bit of storage up front. You can kind of prop it open like so. And that's pretty much what you have there. It is pretty deep, and you can take this sort of bottom tray out, and as you can see, that is where the tire inflation kit and the rest of your goodies are. Now under here, there's a bunch of electrical components around the storage container and the windshield washer fluid. The XC40 Recharge will come with a powered trunk lid in the ultimate trim at least. And getting back here, you know, due to the smaller size of this vehicle, just nature, you know, it's not all that large back here, but for this class, it is pretty decently sized. Now, pretty cool stuff going on back here. Now, as you see, nice and plain on the cargo floor, but there are some actually hinges on the cargo floor. So what is that for? I will show you. So you can actually kind of prop the cargo floor up like so, and there are some grooves that it goes into either side. And now you have a storage divider. That is pretty cool. And these hinges also double as a grocery bag hanger to either side. So pretty cool. Good engineering going on back here with that. You also have more grocery bag hangers to either side, and a 12-volt power outlet back here. Some storage pockets to either side of the trunk towards the rear. You also have cargo tie downs in all four corners, and the rear seats do fold at a 60-40 split, as you can see the split right there. And we also have a cargo pass-through. Now I did install the cargo shade too, which is pretty cool. It kind of lifts up with the trunk lid and closes down with the trunk lid, so no prying eyes can see your goods in the back. But once you lift up the cargo floor back here, I think you got a quick preview of the jack and all that good stuff, and also the charging cables that come with the vehicle. To close the trunk lid on down, we have two buttons, one to lock the vehicle and close the trunk, or one to just close the trunk. Alright, so let's start off the interior with the rear seats. Pretty nice materials back here. So we have this kind of nice soft to the touch leatherette that continues down onto your door rest from all the way up top. Pretty neat sort of styling that goes along with the rear door because of the exterior styling, which does give a little bit bigger blind spots on the inside while you're driving, but definitely really cool. Makes up in the design department for that. We have a nice chrome door handle, your window switch, and the ability to lock and unlock the vehicle from the back. Take a look at that cool carpeting that kind of starts up top and goes down into your storage. Very nice speakers too. We have Harman Kardon speakers in this particular vehicle with the ultimate trim. We have the panoramic roof up there. The shade is currently covering it, but we can open it up in just a minute. You also have a pretty cool storage pocket right over here to the side of the seats. And the seats themselves are a combination of very nice Alcantara and a sort of leather material too. So that is pretty nice. Contrast stitching and very nice attention to detail to these seats. The suede is ultra soft, and so is the leather. And we can also fold down these seats by pressing that button right next to the headrest. That will fold them down flat, and also fold down the headrest. You can fold down these headrests too for extra visibility out the back if you'd like. We also have a center armrest, which folds down, of course, and you have a couple of cup holders. And if we peel this kind of carpeting back, that is where you can also fold down the pass-through. So let me climb in and show you how much room there is back here. Pretty impressive amount, honestly. I am 5'10", and I adjusted the driver's seat to a comfortable position for myself. And take a look at that. Still have a couple of inches of legroom back here. The XC40 is just kind of a very impressive car, as it looks small on the outside, but the proportions are actually pretty large on the inside. Back here we have a couple of air vents, two-stage heated seats for both the outside seats, and 2 USB-C inlets. They're a pretty small drivetrain hump too, so if you had to fit somebody in the center seat, we would have no problem. It might be a little bit cramped, but for short journeys, definitely no problem at all. See, the panoramic sunroof continues very nicely back here. We also have some LED tap lights back here as well. Yeah, it's a pretty nice space to be. Okay, driver's door panel has pretty much the same materials as out back, but we get this really cool trim up front. So this kind of just looks like a layered plastic, and that's exactly what it feels like. But at night, it actually lights up kind of a white light. And since it is layered, there are different shades of white color that comes through. It is just a very, very neat trim, and that continues across the dashboard and into the passenger door too. Really neat design for the trim on this vehicle. We have 2-person memory for the driver's seat, and we also have the Harman Kardon speakers. Again, that is a 13 speaker setup for this vehicle. More of that carpeting that continues into the storage tray. Pretty massive amount of storage on the front doors. We also have powered locks for the rear, the power child locks too. Our window switches, lock and unlock, and you can also press the left and right buttons for the mirror simultaneously, and they will power fold. On the left of the dash, we have a pretty nice air vent. Down here we have some credit card holders, which is pretty convenient. Trunk release, and then on the bottom of the steering column we have a release for the tilt and telescoping. Hood release is off to the left, and we have our pedals. A little bit of storage too on the kind of transmission tunnel, I guess you could say. Very impressive detail to these seats. Definitely like the headrests, very comfy. We even get some piping up front on the seats in addition to the stitching. Very adjustable too. We have full-way lumbar, all the rest of the controls, and also the ability to move back and forth your thigh adjustment. So we have a adjustment right over here, and you just move it back and forth. So, pretty traditional Volvo key with this vehicle. We have the lock, unlock, and trunk release, as well as the panic alarm. And we also have a little switch right there to kind of take the key apart, and within the key will be a physical key. We have a nice Volvo emblem on the face of the key. But in contrary, what is not traditional about this Volvo is the way you start it. So you actually get inside, put your foot on the brake, and then, as it says up on the dash, either shift into drive or reverse. And that will kind of start the vehicle. From there, you can kind of leave it into neutral if you want everything going still, but just make sure you put your foot on the brake, since the park button does come in conjunction with park in the transmission and also park in the parking brake. So, very nice steering wheel, nice to hold in your hands, and very attractive looking with that nice metal work. All of our buttons over here correspond to the digital display up there. We also have the voice commands button. Across the airbag cover, we have all of our buttons for the adaptive cruise control. Behind the steering wheel, we have all of our lighting, so the turn signals. We have our automatic high beams. Our front and rear fog lamps are back there too. And on the contrary side, we have the front and rear wipers. That brings me up to our fully digital gauge cluster. So, not too configurable, but there are definitely a couple things that you can change within this screen. So, right over here, we will have our speedometer with the speed limit on a particular road we're on, and then kind of a power and charge screen. You'll kind of see how that works when we get it out on for a test drive. If we press the little page button right here, that'll get rid of the map in the center. We can also press the OK button to get kind of some trip things and get your odometer and things like that. But pretty simplistic gauge, and that is pretty much what you got. 44% of the battery life, you could see that right down below, and some various other things like your lane keep assist and kind of what gear you're in over there. So, pretty simple. Upper dash is nice, soft to the touch, and you have a nice center channel Harman Kardon speaker over there. Google-based system here, I think, for the second or third model year in the Volvos. So pretty nice setup here, very simplistic, just like the gauge cluster. You can kind of swipe from the top, log in and out for different users of the car. We have the Google Maps up here. Very nice setup for the Google Maps, and you can kind of input your destination with that search bar up top. We have a home button right over here. This is our audio screen, so you can change back and forth for the different stations. You can kind of star that quick for your favorites, and then we have a list down here of all of your different radio stations. Over here we have a phone screen, and we also have the Google Assistant, where you can just kind of say, "Hey Google," and it will, I see it works pretty good. Cancel. And the Google system will work right up for you. Over here we kind of have a page button where we can get into more detail with the screen. So we have a kind of range and everything like that, kind of how you're driving, which is pretty cool. And then we can also turn on and off the range optimizer, which will kind of maximize your driving range, which is pretty neat. We have the car status, kind of like service reminders, tire pressure monitoring, all that good stuff. We can pull up the Google Maps over here, the Sirius XM. You can also get podcasts and Google News. We can pull up the Apple CarPlay, which is wireless. The phone screen, Google Assistant, and your owner's manual in there. We also have an air quality screen, which is pretty cool. Pretty neat. You can also pull up our cameras with that button down below. So we have the reversing camera pops up as a default, but if you want, the 360 camera can also pop up. And you can just kind of tap where you want the cameras to show up. You know, kind of pretty cool camera system there. We can also pull up or turn off, or on, I should say, the parking sensors and the rear auto braking. We have some sensors, or I should say, adjustments up there for the camera too. Right over here we can adjust the heated seats to either side, right over here, and also on this side the heated steering wheel. We have a climate screen right up here, which there are not really much climate controls for physical buttons, so you're going to have to pull up the screen to make really any adjustment. We have our defrosters up top, our AC settings as well, where you want the air to blow. You just kind of tap in that space. And then you also have your fan speed, dual zone climate control, so you can adjust the temperatures down here, and you can also sync it right in the middle. Like I said before, over here you have the passenger heated seat controls and some settings up here we could go through too. So we do have an off-road mode with this vehicle. You could kind of turn on and off all of your safety systems right over here, kind of with the toggles. We can also turn on and off the one pedal drive and the firm steering wheel, which we're going to turn on both so we can kind of demo them through the test drive. Me being pretty new to the electric cars myself, I shouldn't say new to the electric cars, but I should say rather new to the one pedal drive. The first time I drove one of these, it was kind of eye-opening the first time I let off the gas pedal, because once you let off the gas pedal in this car, there's actually a pretty good amount of regenerative braking that goes on without you even hitting the brake pedal, which is pretty cool. We'll definitely demo that during the test drive, of course. Of our hazards right over here, our defrosters. So those are the only two climate buttons you have without going into the screen. Skip and play pause for the audio, and this is also your volume right there. Right down below we have a 12-volt power outlet, two USB-C chargers, and a wireless charging pad for your phone. Little small storage tray over here too to put their various miscellaneous things like maybe coins and things like that. Pretty cool gear selector for this car too. It is hollow, and of course we have a single speed transmission for those two electric motors. Straight down for drive, straight up for reverse, and P for park. Pretty simple. 2 cup holders right over here, and we also have a little trash bin. So you can kind of push it in just like a normal trash bin and put all your stuff in there. And then once you open up the armrest, you can actually lift this right out and empty it out. Really cool solution in this car. And if you find yourself not using a trash bin at all, you can just take it right out, forget about it, and have a larger center console. Other than that, you do have a pretty good amount of space in there as it is. Now the passenger area has more of that light up trim, which is very cool at night. With a bin style glove box in here, which is all illuminated. Up here we have some pretty cool looking visors with a mirror and light. And up here, let's start the car so we get rid of that flashing of the lights there. Speaking of the lights, they are tap illuminated, and we can also kind of turn all of them on right there. We have the sunroof, or I should say sunshade controls, which you could put back like so. And that pretty much does it for up here. We do have a pretty nice mirror that's kind of auto dimming and also has your garage door home links. Now, one important feature, to me at least, on the XC40 versus just the C40 is you could actually open the sunroof. So on the C40, you don't have a sunshade for the sunroof, and you also can't open it. Just due to the design of the car, there's really no room to put a sunshade and a moving sunroof just because of the sort of fastback design of that car. But in the XC40, huge advantage to me at least, you can open the sunroof, and they do give you a sunshade, so that is pretty cool. We definitely did a review on the C40 Recharge, so if you'd like to see that car, definitely check my channel. But at this point, I think we've gone over all the features as the vehicle has to offer. Let's get it out on the road and see how it drives. All right, let's get this thing out on the road and see how it drives. So we're in drive already, and the parking brake disengages automatically, and away we go in silence. Now, this test drive will take us into a couple of different scenarios. We're first going to get down, just still getting used to this one pedal drive. I forgot I turned it on. But back to the test drive overview. We're going to get it down here to a nice little turnaround area. So we'll see what the turning circle is like for those of you who live in the city or maybe commute to the city, something like that. That will definitely be a useful test for you. So we'll see what that is like. After that, we'll get it out on a sort of more main road. We'll get it up to 45, 50 miles an hour. We'll see what it's like to drive at that speed. Kind of check on the tire noise, wind noise, stability, all that stuff. And finally, for the last portion of the test drive, we'll have it out on a nice back road. We'll get an acceleration test. We'll put it in a corner. Nothing too crazy, but we'll definitely get a good feel for the suspension, the acceleration, and just kind of how this car is to drive all around. Very good turning circle too, by the way. Combination of the the steering just turning tight and a nice short wheelbase will always give you a good turning circle. So, having driven multiple of these Recharge, both the C40 and XC40 Recharge with the one pedal driving on, it always takes you just a minute to realize kind of the ratio of the gas pedal down and back to realize how much braking you're going to get out of it. But once you get used to it, you'll definitely be all right. And away we go in silence. Now, I mean, we are caught up in a little bit of traffic, but we did hit 45 just for a second there. Those are pretty large wheels, 20-inch wheels, so. But the tire noise seems to be pretty good so far. The wind noise is actually pretty low as well. The oncoming traffic, you don't really hear it too much. So I'd say this car is pretty nicely insulated. up at this speed. It is pretty smooth on the suspension side. And I also did turn on the setting in the infotainment for the sort of firm steering wheel feel. Speaking of the steering wheel, I'm going to turn down that heated steering wheel. It gets pretty warm. So that's good to know on cold days. But yeah, pretty impressive up at the higher speeds. There's a little bit of tire noise, but we do have the bigger wheels, so that's, you know, kind of to be expected. And don't forget, you know, while you're driving this vehicle in the one pedal drive, if you need the brakes, you know, there is definitely more braking power if you just switch over to the normal brakes. Now, if you are on one pedal drive, it is simply regenerative braking. You know, it's not really using the actual brake rotors or the friction brakes. It's kind of recouping all of that lost energy and putting it directly into the battery. So, this guy gotta go. He's turning. Okay. All right. At this point, we will test out the acceleration. So I like to get the cars up to 25 and kind of mash the throttle, see how fast we can get them to 60. And here we go. And in that case, it is a pretty quick sprint to 60. I have to say, you know, just over 400 horsepower. And this small of an SUV is sure to put a smile on anybody's face. And that is a lot of fun, that acceleration there. You know, just due to the nature of electric motors with that instant torque, and this one having quite a bit of torque, definitely helps that out. Definitely a smile on my face after that. And the first time I drove one of these, I was genuinely shocked at how quick this car really is. So definitely no problems with acceleration there. The steering actually feels really nice when you turn the, you know, the steering wheel stiffness up in the infotainment screen. It actually feels pretty good. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. We always seem to encounter something good on our test drives here. Nothing like somebody backing up the street. You never know what you're going to encounter. But yeah, even though we have the 20-inch wheels, this thing seems to ride pretty good. We haven't gotten to the bumpiest section of our test, and that will kind of be the real kind of evaluation, and that part is coming up. We have some S turns, and we'll kind of put this thing into a corner and see if it corners all right. Kind of due to the nature of a battery electric vehicle, the battery is very low down, you know, underneath the floor where you put your feet, so that definitely gives it a low center of gravity. Thus making it not very top heavy, so should stay pretty composed through the corner. Yep, not too bad. You know, this definitely has a more comfort oriented suspension setup, but it does corner pretty darn well. Yeah, not bad at all. That should be a pretty fun car to have on the back road for some spirited driving. So this is the bumpiest part of the test drive. And this road is not maintained very well, but that gives us a pretty good idea on how this thing is going to ride. And it's pretty bumpy. But the XC40 Recharge, you know, due to it being a battery electric vehicle, it's pretty heavy. But that gives us a better ride. Definitely, you know, having just a little bit more weight on the suspension makes the car ride pretty good. So it definitely is a comfortable ride. pressure monitoring system. Pressure stored. That's pretty neat too. I just noticed that if you press the sort of air quality tab, you know, the last thing that you press usually shows up on the bottom of the home screen with this car. So it'll kind of show you the interior air quality is good, and it'll actually read out the levels there. I'm not quite sure what that means, but for those of you who are, you know, maybe studying, I don't know, chemistry or something like that in college, please let me know what those ratings even mean, if you could see them. I'm kind of curious to know how they rate air quality. Yeah, we'll be rounding our last corner here, so we'll give it one last acceleration since it is a lot of fun. Oh yeah, this thing is so much fun. So much fun. Alrighty, so that pretty much does it for the 2023 Volvo XC40 Recharge. I definitely think this is a little bit better an option than the C40 Recharge. The C40 Recharge, of course, does look better. Definitely does have the advantage in the design. But you do get more storage in the back with the XC40, and you also get the ability to open a sunshade or close the sunshade, and also open and close a sunroof, which I do get a lot of enjoyment out of a sunroof. So me personally, you know, I would definitely go with this car. And it is actually pretty fun to drive, you know, with a combination of that acceleration and the actually very nice firm feeling for the steering wheel. It's a pretty fun car to drive. So with that being said, I hope you have enjoyed the XC40 Recharge just as much as I have. I also hope you stay with us here at Ty Drives for more videos in the future just like this one.